Turbo 350, split seat, optional, Buick trailer hitch, as all muscle cars have.
Today I'm going to try out a slightly different format, so let me know what you guys think. There will be absolutely no jokes. Okay, and no toilet sounds either. I swear that's the last one. 1971 Buick GSX. And you might be thinking, ooh baby, that's gotta be a 455 V8 in there. Well, you could get a 455 V8, but also in 1971, you could get the standard 350 in a GSX, and that just happens to be what this car features. It's not the most potent engine, and that's mainly thanks to its compression ratio, which for 1971 was only 8.5 to 1. Though it did still feature a 750 CFM Rochester carburetor, functional hood scoops, and dual exhaust, but even with that, it was only rated 260 gross horsepower, around 195 net horsepower, and 360 pound-feet of torque, which by net standards is only 291. Interestingly, a 3-speed manual transmission was still standard in a GSX of this configuration, but obviously this one has the optional TH350 3-speed automatic. If you had the 455 V8, well then you got the Turbo 400 instead. A fuel-saving yet somewhat depressing 308 rear gears were standard on the GSX with a 350, but this car has the optional 342 gears, and that should help a little bit in the quarter mile. Buicks weren't known for being the lightest vehicles, but this one having a 350 definitely saved some weight, especially considering the Buick version was the lightest of all 350s offered from GM. This car, with driver, is 3,840 pounds, and that's not great, but it's not terrible either. Let's check out a brief clip from a 1971 Buick commercial.
These two automobile engines look pretty much the same, but they certainly don't act the same. The one on the right is standard in this new Buick. It's designed to run on low-lead or no-lead gasoline.
As you can see in this commercial, Buick, like most manufacturers, was starting to focus on cars that could utilize unleaded gasoline, and performance was more of a second thought. They didn't even really advertise the GSX at this point, and that led to some very low production numbers. In total, there were only 124 GSX cars produced in 1971, and that includes those with the 350, 455, and 455 Stage 1. It's difficult to break it down anymore from there because the records were burned in a fire, but you can assume that the 350 GSX likely only accounts for 25% of that total production. 1979 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. By this point in the gas crisis, the Firebird was suffering even more than that GSX. The Oldsmobile 403 V8 was standard, but there were two other options available. As a credit option, you could downgrade to the Pontiac 301, which was rated a whopping 150 horsepower, or in rare supply you could find a W72 TA 6.6 that was rated 220 horsepower. This car features the standard Oldsmobile 403, which had a compression ratio of 7.9 to 1 and was rated 185 net horsepower and 315 pound-feet of net torque. So even though this car has 10 less horsepower, it does have almost 25 more pound-feet of torque. Inside you'll find a 3-speed automatic transmission, and that's because that was the only option with this engine. You could not get a manual transmission with the 403 Oldsmobile V8. And specifically, this automatic is a TH350, just like that found in the GSX. 323 gears were optional in the Trans Am in 1979, but this car doesn't have that. It has the standard rear gearing, which is, 241. Then we get to the weight of the Trans Am, and it's very similar to the GSX. If you remember, the GSX was 3,840 pounds. This car, 3,810 pounds. The Trans Am was wildly successful in 1979 with over 117,000 produced. If you break that down into those equipped with the Olds 403 V8, that was over 48,000. Let's check out a Firebird commercial from 1979.
Formula is our most sophisticated breed of bird. Nothing even comes close. Well, almost nothing.
Have a good evening, sir.
What else? 1979 Pontiacs. Our best get better.
You know what? I think that's a good commercial. It was Pontiac trying to say that we still have some performance left. And what did you have to pay to get that performance? Well, the Trans Am started out at $6,699, and adjusting for inflation, that's just over $25,500 today. At the time of filming, the temperature was 73 degrees, humidity 51%, barometric pressure 29.25 inches, and elevation 944 feet. Let's check out round 1.
One GSX 342 rear turbo 350 with optional Buick trailer hitch. Has all muscle cars you have. Looks like a good race. Possibly the Pontiac, and the Pontiac does win $14.90. Possibly the Pontiac, and the Pontiac does win $14.92 at 92 to a $14.90.
And in an absolutely fantastic race, the Pontiac takes home the win, running 14.92 seconds at 92.55 miles per hour. And in the other lane, the Buick made this one real interesting, running a nearly identical 14.94 seconds at 90.69 miles per hour. Let's check out round 2. Hopefully that one's just as good.
Up next, Randall Hollister with the 71 GSX 350, turbo 350 transmission. Going up against the 79 with the Oldsmobile V8. And the Diego 3 turbo 350. Automatic wind is going to go to the Trans Am.
In the second round, the Buick was very consistent, running 14.94 seconds at 90.31 miles per hour. But he did get a red light, and that gives the automatic win to the Trans Am, who ran an even quicker 14.83 seconds at 92.81 miles per hour. And with that win, the Trans Am takes home the best of 3 title, but both of these owners are awesome, and they decide to run that third round anyway. Let's check it out.
1979 Trans Am 403 Oldsmobile for power, turbo 350 up against Randall Hollister 71 PSMCDR turbo 350. Firebird 1477 to a losing 1489.
And in the final round, both cars ran their quickest times yet, with the GSX crossing the finish line after 14.89 seconds at 90.94 miles per hour. And once again, the Trans Am takes home the win, running 14.77 seconds at 93.06 miles per hour. A huge thanks to both of the owners for bringing out these cars. It was absolutely awesome seeing them on the drag strip. I'll catch you guys at the next one.